I need to go on a self-discovery trip with Trevor to find closure and heal my inner wounds. My girlfriend said so. I packed up everything I owned and left her with a completely empty apartment. I am Cameron, 29M. Been working as a marketing coordinator for 3 years now at a mid-sized tech company downtown. My girlfriend Brittany, 26F, is supposedly a freelance graphic designer, though freelance is generous since she maybe lands one actual paying client every few months. Most of her time gets spent working on passion projects that never see the light of day. We have been living together for 2 years in what I thought was a solid, committed relationship. For context, I pay for literally everything. I didn't mind initially because I genuinely loved her, and she kept promising things would change once her design career took off. She had landed that big client any day now, she said. Last month we planned this amazing trip to Costa Rica for our 2-year anniversary. I had already put down $2,800 in non-refundable deposits for flights, a beachfront hotel in Manuel Antonio, and even pre-booked some excursions like ziplining and volcano tours. Brittany seemed genuinely excited, spending hours picking out bikinis online and making elaborate Pinterest boards of all the places we had visited and foods we would try. She kept talking about how it would be our special time to reconnect and plan our future together. Then Monday night happened, and everything went to absolute shit. I came home from work around 6:30 p.m., exhausted from dealing with a particularly demanding client presentation. I found Brittany sitting on cone with this serious, almost theatrical expression on her face. She goes, "Cameron, I have been doing a lot of soul-searching lately." Red flags immediately started going off in my head. When women start soul-searching while you are planning romantic vacations together, you better brace for impact. This sounded exactly like the preamble to a breakup speech. I need to go on a self-discovery trip with Trevor. Trevor, her ex-boyfriend from college. The deadbeat musician who ghosted her 2 years ago when she moved in with me because apparently he needed space to focus on his art. This guy had treated her like garbage, constantly borrowing money. He never paid back, cheating on her with other girls in his local music scene, and generally being an unreliable piece of shit. When we first started dating, she had spent hours crying to me about how badly he had hurt her. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level even though my heart was starting to race. "It is not about romance, Cameron. It is about closure and finding myself. I need to heal my inner wounds with someone who understands my creative soul and artistic journey. Trevor and I have unfinished business, and I cannot move forward in life until I address it properly." I just stared at her, feeling like I had been sucker punched. This woman who I have been financially supporting for 2 years, who sleeps in my bed every night and eats food I buy, who wears clothes I have helped pay for, wants to go find herself with the same ex-boyfriend who emotionally destroyed her before I came along to pick up the pieces. What about Costa Rica? What about us? What about the money I already spent? Her face went cold, like someone had flipped a switch. "If you cannot support my personal growth and emotional journey, then maybe you are not the right person for me. Maybe you should pack your shit and leave." That is when something clicked in my brain. She said, "Pack your shit and leave." About my apartment that I pay for, my furniture that I bought, my home that I have been graciously sharing with her while she builds her portfolio. "You know what, Brittany? You are absolutely right." She looked surprised, probably expecting me to beg or argue or try to convince her to choose me over her toxic ex. "I should leave. I will start packing right now." The confusion on her face was priceless. Her mouth actually fell open a little. "Wait, what? You said pack my shit and leave, so I am packing my shit and leaving." "That is not. I didn't mean literally, no. You are right. If you need to go rediscover yourself with Trevor, you should do it without any distractions. I will be completely out of your way." I stood up and walked toward the bedroom, my mind racing with logistics. Where would I stay? How quickly could I move? What about the lease, Cameron? Wait, cannot we talk about this? Nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about. That Friday, while Brittany was at her mom's preparing for her journey, whatever the hell that meant, I called my buddy Landon to help me move. Landon's been my best friend since college, works in construction, and owns a pickup truck, exactly what I needed. "Dude, "Are you sure about this?" he asked. When I explained the situation, she told me to pack my shit and leave. Man, I am just doing what she asked. But this is the apartment you pay rent for. We spent the entire weekend systematically removing everything I had bought from that apartment. Landon kept shaking his head as we loaded box after box into his truck. She is gonna lose her mind when she sees this. I also canceled the internet and cable since they were in my name, called the electric company to disconnect service, and contacted the landlord to let her know I was moving out effective immediately, and Brittany would handle everything going forward. The landlord, Mrs. Parker, was confused because the lease was in both our names. But I explained I was transferring my portion to Brittany. "Are you sure about this, Cameron? The lease requires both tenants to be financially responsible." "I am sure. Brittany will handle it." The apartment went from fully furnished and comfortable to completely empty except for Brittany's clothes, her ancient MacBook that barely functioned, and a single folding chair she had brought from her old place. I found a nice one-bedroom apartment across town, closer to my office, and used the Costa Rica money as my deposit and first month's rent. At least something good came out of that financial loss. Monday morning, I blocked her on everything. Phone calls, text messages, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, even Venmo, where she had occasionally requested money for emergencies. Complete radio silence. The plan was perfect. She wanted space to find herself. She would have all the space in the world. So many of you asked what happened when she came back to the empty apartment. Wish I could have been a fly on the wall to see her face when she realized what had happened. I found out through my boy Landon, who Brittany somehow tracked down, and called screaming at 2 a.m. last Wednesday. Apparently, she had been trying to reach me for 3 days straight after getting back from her journey of self-discovery with Trevor. According to Landon, who was both pissed off and amused by the middle of the night wake-up call, the conversation went exactly like this. "Where the fuck is Cameron? He doesn't want to talk to you." "What do you mean he doesn't want to talk to me? I come home and everything's gone. The apartment is completely empty." "Yeah, he moved out, took his stuff." "His stuff? That is our stuff. We lived there together." "Nah, that was all his stuff. He bought everything when you guys first moved in together. The couch, the TV, the bed. How am I supposed to sleep on the floor?" "Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to go find yourself with your ex-boyfriend." Landon said she was crying and screaming for 20 minutes straight, demanding my new address, my work schedule, anything that would help her track me down. He told her to lose his number and hung up. Good friend. But Brittany wasn't done. Not even close. This woman has persistence. I will give her that. It's Thursday evening, the end of a long workday. The parking lot is buzzing with engines starting, coworkers chatting, heels clicking on concrete. I am unlocking my car when I hear my name echo through the ramp. "Cameron, Cameron." "Wait." I turn. And there she is, Brittany, sprinting toward me in an oversized hoodie and what looks like pajama pants. Her hair is a mess, flip-flops slapping against the floor. Before I can react, she cuts right in front of me, blocking the door. "We need to talk." "No, we don't move. I am not moving until you tell me why you took all our furniture." People are starting to slow down. A couple coworkers glance over while unlocking their cars. One guy even pauses, pretending to check his phone. I can feel the heat creeping up my neck. "I didn't take anything, Brittany. It was mine. I paid for it, I moved it. End of story." I pushed her out of the way, opened the door, got in, and started the car. Her voice choked as I closed the door, but I ignored it. "You cannot just abandon me like this." I start backing up to drive around her, and this crazy woman literally throws herself across my hood, like she is in some kind of action movie. "Cameron, stop. You are going to run me over." I am sweating now because I almost did hit her. And there are security cameras everywhere recording this insanity. "Brittany, get off my car or I am calling security." "Not until we talk. You owe me that much." I had to call building security to get her removed from the property. 2 guards in yellow vests had to physically escort her kicking and screaming to the street while my coworkers watched from a safe distance. I spent the rest of the day getting sympathetic looks and awkward questions from people I barely knew. Friday afternoon, she showed up again, this time, waiting by the company parking lot, like she'd been camping there just to catch me. That was the 2 times she pulled something like this. And I knew I could let it keep happening. So when she begged to just talk at a Starbucks downtown, I figured fine, public place. People everywhere. What could possibly go wrong? Big fucking mistake. She was already there when I arrived. She went there first because I still needed to go back to the company to do some small work. Sitting at a corner table with 2 drinks already ordered, she looked rough, like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was unwashed, makeup smeared, wearing the same clothes from yesterday. Cameron, thank God you came. I ordered your usual, medium dark roast. No cream. I didn't sit down. You have got 5 minutes. Please sit. I have something important to tell you. Against my better judgment, I sat down across from her. She was fidgeting with something in her purse, building up to some kind of big revelation. Then she slides something across the table. A pregnancy test. Positive. I am pregnant, Cameron. The world stopped spinning for a second. I felt like I had been hit by a fucking truck. My vision actually got a little blurry, and I had to grip the edge of the table to steady myself. Are you sure? Her face turned nasty, like I had just insulted her entire family. Are you asking if it is yours? I mean, you just spent a week with your ex-boyfriend. How dare you? How fucking dare you suggest that? You are going to support me and this baby, or I am calling the police. The police. What would you tell them? She leaned forward, lowering her voice to a threatening whisper. I will tell them you raped me. Who do you think they will believe? A pregnant woman or a deadbeat who abandons his responsibilities? I couldn't breathe. The coffee shop suddenly felt like it was closing in around me. This woman I had loved and supported for 2 years was threatening to destroy my entire life over a baby that might not even be mine. If it is really mine, I will do the right thing. If you are a deadbeat piece of shit, Cameron. No wonder I needed to find myself with someone who actually cares about me and supports my dreams. She stood up so fast her chair fell over backward, making a loud crash that got everyone's attention. You have 1 week to figure out how you are going to support us, or I start making phone calls. She stormed out, leaving me sitting there in shock with a positive pregnancy test on the table and 20 strangers staring at me like I was the worst person alive. But wait, it gets so much worse. Monday morning, Brittany shows up at my office building. She managed to get into the main lobby but couldn't access the secured office floors without a keycard. So she was waiting by the elevators when I arrived for work. We need to finalize our arrangement. She says loudly enough for people in business suits to hear as they are rushing to catch elevators. There is no arrangement. Please leave. Oh, there is definitely an arrangement. Unless you want me to start telling people about your problem. Security had to escort her out again, but she made sure everyone in earshot heard her saying shit like you cannot just abandon your responsibilities and I thought you were a real man. Cameron. The next day she figured out my parking schedule and was waiting by my car in the garage. When I tried to drive away, she stood behind my vehicle so I couldn't back out without potentially injuring her. This happened every single day for a week, alternating between lobby harassment and parking garage ambushes. She would show up with new accusations each time, getting louder and more dramatic. My boss Greg finally called me into his office. Mike's one of those middle management guys who avoids confrontation at all costs and just wants problems to disappear quietly. Cameron, I am going to need you to take some temporary leave until you sort out your personal situation. Greg, she is harassing me. I cannot control what she does. I understand. But she is disrupting the workplace. HR is getting complaints from other employees who feel uncomfortable. So I am being punished because my crazy ex-girlfriend will not leave me alone. It is temporary. Just until things calm down. So now I am basically unemployed because my psycho ex is stalking me at work. And when I called the police, they said unless she threatens physical violence or damages property, they cannot do anything about it. I was losing my mind until last Friday when something happened that changed everything. I was at Murphy's bar drowning my sorrows with Landon, probably on my 4th beer and feeling sorry for myself. This is insane, man. She is ruining my life and there is nothing I can do about it. I still cannot believe she is pregnant. The timing is so convenient. That is when Landon suddenly goes, "Dude, isn't that Brittany?" I look across the crowded bar and there she is, doing tequila shots with some guy I don't recognize. Not just one shot either. She was clearly several drinks deep, laughing loudly, and hanging all over this random dude. "Pregnant women don't do tequila shots," Landon says. That is when it hit me like a lightning bolt. In all this chaos and emotional manipulation, I never actually verified if she was really pregnant. I just took her word for it because who the hell lies about something like that? But watching her throw back shots like she was celebrating spring break, grinding against some stranger on the tiny dance floor, I realized I might have been played harder than I ever thought possible. But discovering the truth about the pregnancy was nothing compared to what I found out about my boss Greg, and why he was so quick to force me out of work. Update 2: Wi-Fi was down all weekend. Finally got it sorted. You guys aren't going to believe this shit. The rabbit hole goes so much deeper than I thought. After seeing Brittany doing shots at the bar, I couldn't sleep for 2 days straight. Something wasn't adding up. Pregnant women don't party like they are in college, especially not when they are supposedly devastated about their baby daddy abandoning them. The whole thing felt like an elaborate performance. I called Landon the next morning, still freaking out about everything I had witnessed. "Dude, I think she is lying about the pregnancy, but I need actual proof. If I am wrong and she really is pregnant, I will look like an asshole. But if I am right," Landon thought about it for a minute. "My cousin Jake works security at the courthouse downtown. He knows a guy who does investigations for divorce cases and custody battles. Want me to ask around?" That is how I met Martinez, a retired cop in his 50s who runs a small private investigation business out of a strip mall office. When I explained my situation, he didn't seem surprised at all. "Honestly, Cameron, fake pregnancy scams aren't that uncommon in my line of work. Scorned, ex-girlfriends, messy divorces, child support dodgers, I have seen it all. I can document her behavior for a few days, get you what you need." He quoted me $400 for basic surveillance over a long weekend. Since I was technically unemployed thanks to the workplace harassment, Landon spotted me the money without hesitation. "I got you, bro. This chick has been making your life hell. We need to know what we are dealing with." Martinez was thorough and professional. 4 days later, he calls me with results. We met at a Denny's near my apartment, and he slides me a tablet loaded with video footage. There is Brittany at 3 different bars over 3 nights, drinking heavily, smoking cigarettes, and clearly not acting like someone who is pregnant and concerned about a developing baby. "She is definitely not pregnant," Martinez says matter-of-factly. But I found something else interesting while I was following her around. He shows me photos taken with a telephoto lens from across the street. Brittany sitting in a car outside my office building, clearly having an animated conversation on her phone. The timestamp shows it is from the Tuesday before she started showing up at my work, meaning she was planning this harassment campaign in advance. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I got curious about the timing, so I did some digging into who she might know at your company. My stomach dropped. "What did you find?" "Social media cross-references. Your boss Greg and Brittany were tagged together at a bar called Whiskey River about 6 months ago. Multiple photos over several weeks. Looked pretty cozy." He slides the tablet over and shows me screenshots from Instagram and Facebook. Greg and Brittany definitely had a thing going. Romantic dinners, concert photos, even a weekend trip to wine country. The timestamps were from right around the time she started acting distant and weird with me, making excuses to avoid spending time together. Greg, my fucking boss, Greg. Look at the timeline. Martinez continues. She starts seeing your boss in January, right around the time you probably started planning that Costa Rica trip. Then she announces this self-discovery bullshit in March. When you call her bluff and move out, she panics and comes up with the pregnancy story. The pieces were falling into place. That is why Greg was so quick to put me on temporary leave when Brittany started causing scenes. He wasn't protecting the company. He was protecting his side piece and making sure her harassment campaign would be effective. I was furious, but Martinez told me to be smart about it. "You need to document everything properly if you want this to stick. Let me get more evidence." 3 more days of surveillance and Martinez had everything we needed. Videos of Brittany drinking and smoking at multiple bars, photos of her meeting with Greg in various parking lots around the city, and social media evidence showing their relationship timeline that perfectly overlapped with her emotional withdrawal from me. The next step was talking to a lawyer about my options. Landon's sister Emma had gone through a messy divorce the previous year and recommended this lawyer named Sophia, who specialized in harassment and workplace discrimination cases. I met with Sophia the following Wednesday at her downtown office. She was professional, no nonsense, and after reviewing all the evidence Martinez had gathered, told me I had a solid case. "This is textbook harassment with conspiracy elements," she said, flipping through photos and video stills. "The fake pregnancy adds criminal fraud charges. Your workplace situation involves abuse of power and discriminatory treatment. I think we should file with the police immediately. What are the chances this actually goes anywhere? With this much evidence?" "Very good. The documentation is thorough, the timeline is clear, and the behavior patterns are obvious." 2 weeks later, after Sophia helped me navigate the legal process properly and file all the correct paperwork, Detective Collins called to let me know they were moving forward with charges. "We have got harassment, filing false reports, and conspiracy. Your employer situation is trickier legally, but we will investigate the workplace harassment angle as part of the broader case." The restraining order was approved the following Monday. Brittany was served at her apartment while she was day drinking with Trevor. Yeah, her self-discovery partner was back in the picture permanently, now living off whatever money she had left. But the real satisfaction came 3 weeks later, when everything else started falling into place. I was sitting in my car outside my office building, trying to work up the courage to face my coworkers after all the drama and harassment, when I see Greg walking out the front entrance with a security guard carrying a box of his personal belongings. My phone rings. "It is Linda from HR, Cameron. We need you to come in immediately. There have been some significant developments in your situation." I walk into the building and immediately notice people staring at me differently, not with pity or awkwardness, like before, but with something that looked like respect. Linda explains that the company's internal investigation, triggered by my legal case, had uncovered that Greg had been using his administrative access to help Brittany stalk me. He had given her my work schedule, let her know which parking level I used, told her when I would be arriving and leaving, and even tried to access my personnel file to give her more personal information about me. "We take workplace harassment very seriously," Linda says. "Greg violated multiple company policies and potentially several laws. He was terminated this morning." Then she drops the bombshell. "We would like to offer you his position, marketing department supervisor, with a $15,000 salary increase and a corner office." I went from unemployed and being stalked to promoted and protected by a restraining order in less than a month. But Brittany wasn't done yet. 2 days after my promotion was announced internally, she violated the restraining order. She saw my LinkedIn update about the new position and tried to slide back into my life with a text message. "Baby, we were so good together. I made a mistake. Can we talk?" I screenshot the message and sent it straight to Detective Collins. They arrested Brittany at her apartment 4 hours later for violating a protective order. But guys, the karma train wasn't done with her yet. What happened with Trevor after all this made me realize she had gotten exactly what she deserved. Final update: been dealing with car trouble all week. Long story, but wanted to give you guys the final update on this absolutely insane situation. It has been 3 months since everything went down, and holy shit, the karma gods have been working overtime on this one. First, the legal stuff wrapped up. Brittany pled guilty to harassment and filing false reports. 6 months probation, community service, and $1,200 restitution to me. She cannot contact me for 2 years. Greg got fired and word spread around the industry. Dude cannot find work anywhere. Because who wants to hire someone who helps crazy exes stalk employees? But here is the best part. Trevor moved in with Brittany, and it has been a complete disaster. My friend Jake works at the same gym as her neighbor, says the walls are thin, and they fight every night. Trevor's an abusive alcoholic who cannot hold a job. Jake saw her at the grocery store last week, looking rough, black eye, super skinny, buying ramen with food stamps while Trevor told her to shut up in public. This is the same woman who used to complain about organic coconut milk brands. Trevor's been cheating on her with multiple women, but she is too broken down to care. She chose this over stability with me. As for me, life's great. The promotion's been amazing. My team actually respects me, and the salary bump let me pay off student loans and pay back Landon with interest. I am dating Sophia now. The lawyer who helped with my case. Met her randomly at a coffee shop months later. She is independent, stable, and doesn't need to find herself with ex-boyfriends. The funniest part? I still had those Costa Rica reservations. Sophia and I are going next month. Sometimes the person you think will destroy you actually frees you from a toxic situation you didn't realize you were in. Edit. No. I don't feel bad for Brittany. She made her choices knowing exactly who Trevor was.